So the US has to be very careful what it does here. But if that's the case, if they're too heavy-handed, in a global world, that capital's going to flow elsewhere. And then every pension fund, sovereign wealth fund, hedge fund, anybody else wanting to do business in cryptocurrencies will go to London, and they'll go to Singapore, they'll go to the UAE, they'll go to Hong Kong. That's the way the world works.
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your week. Now, obviously, I don't want to start the week off overly bullish. There is a few things we need to talk about in the charts. But guys, we were talking about this triple threat theory for Bitcoin, and you can see right here, we finally closed this candle above all of these major levels. We are above the 50, above the 200, which makes us above the death cross, above the horizontal, and yes, we are above the major downwards sloping support, flipped into resistance, now hopefully flipping back into support. Now, this is absolutely crazy, guys. In fact, you can see that Goldman Sachs has come out with this year-to-date absolute, and pretty much, look at this, guys. Bitcoin is sitting right at the very top, right? There is a lot of things happening right now in the space. So some of the things that we need to discuss is the fact that we did break above this sort of triple threat area. Now, obviously, there is some minor things we do need to look at in the charts, right? We might be getting slightly overheated, right? But ultimately, what we have seen right now is all of this situation with the banking contagion really just ultimately being a giant advertisement for Bitcoin. And there are so many people that are shocked right now. They can't believe that Bitcoin is pumping. In fact, Bitcoin is up 40% since when we started to have this debacle with all of this contagion happening. So there is a little bit of a conspiracy, right? We are going to still touch upon this Operation Choke Point. Is the US really trying to cut off all that access? And this guy right here, you don't hear a lot about him, Michael S. Barr, the vice chair for supervision. Who is this guy? And what is really happening in the background? Now, this is going to be a bit of a longer video today. I'm just going to be honest. This is not going to be a short video, but I highly suggest that you stick around to the end because there are so many topics we need to go over today. There's a few things that people are asking. Questions like, will the US eventually look to try to completely choke Bitcoin? Are they going to look to ban it? And why the US needs to be very, very careful, because if they don't play their cards right, well, there could be something absolutely not so good for the US, let's just say that, but still pretty good for Bitcoin. So if all that sounds good to you today, guys, and I wanted to also say thank you so much. Guys, I officially broke 250,000 subscribers. This is amazing. I've been doing this channel for a long time. Thank you so much. 250,000. I love each and every single one of you. You are amazing. Thank you again. I just wanted to say that. It's always nice to read the comments and all the good support. So if you're new and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for, guys? We're having some good content lately. So yes, you guys can see, thumbs up for this. We are officially above my triple threat area. I believe as long as Bitcoin can, essentially just hold above this area, which is right now 25,275. Actually, I'm sorry, 25,454. Sorry, the moving average has gone up since the last time we looked at this chart. Then I honestly think we could be poised for a massive continuation of this move. Now, obviously, we are at currently a very important level, and I don't even have it drawn right here, but you could see right where we're sitting, right here. And look at this. You could see how we touched that area, right? We had, this support right here, this support right here, this support right here. So now that it's acting as resistance, that is something to consider, but it wouldn't be totally shocking and out of the cards to see a slight Bitcoin correction. You could see, though, we did completely break out of this upwards channel, this parallel channel, and we've been above it for 4 straight days. So, realistically, guys, if we're above this channel for 3 more days, that's an entire week, right? It's not literally Monday to Sunday, but it is 7 days that we will have stayed. So thus far, 4 days, still holding above it. A little bit of a red candle today, but you could see there was more buying pressure from the bottom. And I just want to point out this VPVR. has actually built a very, very nice area of interest right here at around the $24,600 level. So you may see a lot of buyers stepping back in at that point, right? Now, do I have a bit of caution? Of course, guys. Let's not bet the farm on everything right now, because as you could see, we are having fear and greed moving into the greedy territory, right? So you could see that this is around 66. Now, we're not up into the 100% yet, but if we do come back here, this is the highest fear and greed euphoria that we've had in a year. So we like, this is very euphoric, right? And if we go to the max right here, the last time that we had levels up around this area was pretty much around March of 2022. So, if we come over here and have a look at basically where was March of 2022, as you guys can see right here, April, May, June, March. I'm sorry, March, April. I'm going backwards here. So right around here, guys. So we see we had that euphoria, and everybody got excited, and then we just fell, right? So just be cautious about that. But this rally is a lot more significant, I think, than this one right here. Just because, the percentage off the bottom has been absolutely incredible. And, the one thing, like I did warn, is you can see that, remember I said anywhere within this blue zone is sort of just fair, kind of middle ground. We're just sort of bouncing around. Below this zone, you get down to this red. This is like super buy level. You get up to this green. Now you're up to the second support, which is around 37,000. I don't know if we're going to get that high in this move. But, for example, it wouldn't be impossible to see us have a retest, right, of this down here, right? So that we can now retest this resistance as support. Bitcoin comes back down to around that $25,300 level. And then maybe we make that next attempt up to around that 31,000 level, right? So just pointing that out, understand these markets do ebb and flow. Is Bitcoin just going to parabolic all the way up to the moon? Probably not. Right? Probably not. People are going to take profits along the way. And this area right here, 30,000 specifically, I think you're going to see selling personally. I think you're going to see a lot of people say, I sat around this area for a year. I'm tired. I'm breaking even. I'm getting the heck out of this space, right? Because there are still probably some weak hands in here that are just hoping to get their money back. I do think the majority has sold though. Having a look right here, we still have not had the guppy flipping into neutral, and we have not had the money flow back into the green. We have had wave edge flipping into purple. So we're still kind of waiting on 2 out of 3 of these. But, if we get these flipping on the weekly, I'm going to basically say that the bull run's back on. But I'm not going to say it just yet because I'm not seeing it. So yes, technically it's like, oh, well, you got to wait till we get all the way back to 30,000 and it missed the move. Well, we did double from 15 to 30. I mean, how many people have been bearish out there? I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but how many people have been bearish since 17, whatever? Maybe we do go lower. All I know is that we literally have gone from 15 almost up to 30. You basically could have doubled your money. And maybe made even some more if you got into those AI crypto altcoins, right? You can see that the dominance on Bitcoin is getting very high. So yeah, going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Guys, if you do want to learn how to trade this though, man, there's been so many opportunities. We basically go over it every day on the channel. I let you guys know transparently what's going on. If you guys want to trade, there's a tutorial up here. Check it, popping up right now, 56,000 in bonuses. And like I said, check out the Apex DEX if you guys are worried about all this crazy stuff going on with centralized exchanges. It sucks. Sometimes you have to use them, for certain cryptos. But if you're just trading Bitcoin and you want decent liquidity, I would definitely use a decentralized, check out Apex. I have a free tutorial on that if you guys want to check it out. It's safer, as long as you know what you're doing with your private key. So, oh my goodness, where do we begin? There's so much to talk about, guys. So much. Okay, let's start here. Credit Suisse has struck a deal with UBS for $3.2 billion in a rescue deal aimed at calming financial market panic triggered by the current American banking crisis. Both UBS and CS are regarded as being among the top 30 most important banks in the international monetary system, with the two lenders' combined assets totaling close to $1.7 trillion. So what does all of this mean? Well, it basically means it looks like history is about to repeat, right? So I don't know if you guys saw this. I want to play some clips from this. Raul Pal was over on Anthony Pompliano's channel, and they were discussing all kinds of macro situations. But, one of the things that he asked him was basically, what is going to happen next for Bitcoin, right? And he was also asking him about what, the government might do if they find themselves in a situation. Will they attempt to cut off, access to Bitcoin? Will there be a war against it? This is what Raul believes.
So let's go back to the last time we saw this, which was December 21st, 2018. The Fed just stopped and said, right, we're not going to increase the balance sheet. We're not going to raise rates any further, not going to decrease the balance sheet, not going to raise rates any further. Over the next 6 months, crypto was up 300%. So Bitcoin did 300 and something percent. The exponential age stocks, which are the really kind of growthy ARK style stocks, they were up about 30%. The NASDAQ was about 22%, something of that magnitude. The S&P was about 15%. And so we can see that relationship happens. So new all-time highs in the next 12 months or so, maybe a bit longer. NASDAQ gets there sooner because of its relationship. Crypto moves very fast. So if we get back to our conversation earlier about bank runs, and we said, you either kind of guarantee the system or you try and throttle it. My view is the US understands crypto, understands that it is the answer to the future, but they need to throttle it because if you create the bank run on the entire system, then the unintended consequences are simply gigantic. That's kind of everybody losing their jobs, the entire system breaking apart, the entire system of the United States as being the world leader, or Europe, and all of this falls apart. They don't want that. But I think they understand that there is a future here, but there's a battle to get people across because some people can't stand it. They don't like the idea of it. Other people understand it, but don't want it to happen too fast. And I get that. So I think that there will be an ongoing war. And if Balaji gets across what he wants to do, which is get more people to move out of the system into the Bitcoin market, we'll see the pushback coming. But it happens very quickly because the mob is pretty fast, as we know. And the mob with a hive mind who's deciding, let's go to the parallel financial system, they can move really fast. So the government's going to try and stop it. But, they do have, as Punk 6529 talks about, there is a freedom to transact here. You need the ability to do that. And if they go against that, then they're really trying to change the political spectrum entirely. And I think that the pushback would be so gigantic, but it is going to be a fight.
But here's the thing, though. Here's why the US needs to be a little bit careful when it comes to overstepping, because basically what we know will happen is it will push innovation overseas. You will not be able to close Pandora's box now that it's been opened.
That whole mechanism plus Brexit meant that the world's capital markets went back to New York. And they've been in New York for the last 10 years or so. But the UK is looking like it wants to regulate crypto in a very sensible way. They understand regulatory arbitrage better than any country on earth. You see, once the US screws up and misses an opportunity, the UK has the rule of law, the language, the ability for Americans to go and live and work there. It's a global capital center. It's connected with Singapore, the Cayman Islands, Hong Kong, the UAE, all of the places that matter. It has a broader relationship on a less aggressive policy. So my guess is we don't know whether this government will last in the UK or not. But if it does, the UK will probably eat the US's lunch. And we'll see Coinbase, we'll see Kraken, we'll see Circle, we'll see everybody relocating to the UK because it's an easy change to have. And don't forget, this is $1 trillion industry. It's $3 trillion at peak. What's it going to be at next peak? 5, 10 trillion, probably. So of course the UK wants it because it's lost relevancy. So the US has to be very careful what it does here. I don't think it stops the people per se getting involved. I think it tries to regulate that. That's all well and good. I think it's trying to stop the infrastructure layer being built and becoming too powerful, too decentralized. So they can regulate Coinbase and maybe they can regulate Circle, but they don't want too many moving parts in all of this. But if that's the case, if they're too heavy-handed, in a global world, that capital's going to flow elsewhere. And then every pension fund, sovereign wealth fund, hedge fund, anybody else wanting to do business in cryptocurrencies will go to London and they'll go to Singapore, they'll go to the UAE, they'll go to Hong Kong. That's the way the world works.
And then they went on to ask him if he believes that the US will actually buy Bitcoin, or do they need to hold Bitcoin as a sense of insurance? And his answer was kind of not as surprising, but I guess it makes sense. Check this out.
They don't need to hold reserves. They're the world's reserve currency. They just print dollars and build gunships. and space rockets. So no, they don't need this. Do other countries do this? For sure. We've seen it. We've seen it, and we know the Middle East and others have woken up to this because of what happened to their the Russian dollar reserves. So other countries may be incentivized to do it, but it's a very volatile asset. So really, and I've talked about this in the past, sovereign wealth funds it fits better in than it fits in bank treasuries, because it's just in central bank treasuries because it's so volatile. So I don't think the US does it.
So it's definitely interesting when you look at Bitcoin, you look at the response to Bitcoin, you realize that the banks are obviously not really as transparent as they claim they are. And it's pretty crazy how crypto seems like a better alternative, and I understand in the US, maybe you don't really see that from the Western side because we always tend to just kind of put the Band-Aid on. But, there are a lot of countries that would actually benefit from this. ARK Invest had a newsletter that they put out, and they said that it is looking again like a safe haven. In the face of the US and European banking crisis, Bitcoin's price appreciation suggests that the lax regulatory oversight had no impact on the decentralized, transparent, and audible crypto asset ecosystem. They went on to say last week, when many banks were closed and others were facing bank runs, Bitcoin didn't skip a beat. It settled $33 billion, facilitated 600,000 transactions, issued 2,037 new Bitcoin at a steady and predictable rate, 1.8% inflation, 1 new million addresses, and generated $43 million for miners securing the network. So doesn't look like Bitcoin's having any difficulty right now. And again, short-term speculation on Bitcoin has always been the deterrent. I will just say that, right? The reason that people don't like Bitcoin sometimes is this short-term horizon. How could it go from 15,000 to 20, down to 17, up to 30, right? It's crazy. You can't keep your money in something like this. It's too volatile. It's not stable. Well, yeah, on a shorter time frame, it's very volatile. But on a longer time frame, it consistently has outpaced every other option out there, right? You could see right here that Andrew Kang had pointed out the macro backdrop for Bitcoin has never been more perfect. The Fed must reduce aggressiveness in rate hikes with economy slowing and global financial system turmoil. Equities not attractive given slowing sales and high PE. Bonds are mediocre yield and risk versus reward profile. Fiat increasingly likely to be debased, and amazing setup to compel flows from traditional finance investors. Now, somebody literally took this. Now, if you don't know what this is the infamous chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. And this is in the first Bitcoin Genesis block. It's literally in there. And it's an homage that Satoshi sort of made to the people to show why Bitcoin was created in the first place. So somebody just took this and basically said, look at how crazy this is. It's almost like history is happening again, right? Look at the top, right? So they're talking about eat out for about $5. Pounds, whatever, we'll just say dollars, bucks. So now that 5 is now $25. Look at this headline. Israel prepares to send tanks and troops into Gaza. Well, we could replace that with Russia into Kyiv, right? Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. JPOW on brink of second bailout for banks. It's almost like history is repeating. Super high inflation, fear about wars, and also having financial issues and bailouts. It's like literally this is why Bitcoin was created, right? That's exactly what Misha Lederman was going on over on Twitter. He was explaining how it was born out of the 2008 financial crisis. Its main tenets are built on the fact that our current financial system, and we're going to get to the conspiracy part in a minute. I know. I just like to remind everyone why we're all here, or at least why I'm here. And instead, we need hard, predictable, and reliable money that we can trust in of itself without needing to trust in a third party. The simple truth is that companies, individuals, and organizations are losing trust in banks to hold custody of their funds and their hard-earned money. Instead of being part of a closed economic system where only the privileged few are privy to information that the public does not have access to, Bitcoin offers a transparent public ledger that everyone has access to, enabling a fair and more equal global financial ecosystem. Actually, I do want to I'm getting off topic here. There's also a theory that Bitcoin was actually created by like the global financial, even though the IMF and all these guys, they're all saying whatever, the World Economic Forum, that it was created as a fail-safe, that no one could have ultimate control over in case of a financial collapse. Now, I don't know if that's true. I've heard people say that Putin created it, that, the crazy stuff, that Elon Musk is Satoshi. So, but it's just a funny little rumor that was going around. So People globally are increasingly recognizing Bitcoin and its value proposition. This growing awareness is driving demand for Bitcoin and causing its value to soar. Bitcoin's unique characteristics offer a viable alternative to traditional banks, and its growing popularity is a reflection of people's desire for a more secure and predictable financial future. Just like you've seen people, I'm not talking about like woke culture or whatever. Not like that, but I mean just in general, people just waking up, right? Like, do you guys remember the food pyramid when we were growing up? When I was growing up, as a kid, what was the 6 to 11 servings was bread, right? Bread was supposed to be the staple of, and I don't care what diet you do, but come on, I think we can all agree that bread should not be the most, like grains. So, people woke up to that. We started understanding like the stuff that they put in the food. We started eating healthier, right? And now we're starting to understand the financial system, right? The internet is spreading information so fast that they can't really control the media anymore, right? You're seeing a lot of now you got to be careful because you can get some misinformation out there, but you're seeing a lot of platforms like TikTok, really take off. There are some negatives to it. You could sit there and just be scrolling through garbage all day, but also, you got to understand that, if you follow the right sources, you can actually get a lot of truth. And I think right now people are understanding the truth. And just here's like the conspiracy part, right? So deal done on signature bank sale, but why is crypto excluded? If we come down here, you can see that Reuters reported that the regulators asked the bidders to give up all the crypto business at the signature bank. But later, the FDIC said that was untrue. So you have Nick Carter, venture capitalist, believing that the FDIC lied and Reuters was indeed correct. Carter also has a strong opinion that the regulators have started Operation Choke Point 2.0 to cut the banking access of crypto businesses, right? But the interesting thing is, and I'm going to come back to this again, let's just really quickly look what happened, right? March 10th, Silicon Valley Bank shut down by California regulator. U.S. depositors line up to withdraw funds. March 11th, the crypto industry begins to feel the pain as USDC depegs from the US dollar. But why was USDC depegging? Was it because of an error in the contract? Was it because of something wrong with Ethereum or the token? Or no, it actually had nothing to do with that. It had to do with the fact that we had banks over the weekend being closed and they literally could not actually get the money, right? Because the banks were closed. Regulators in the US and UK began to take action on the 12th. U.S. Federal Reserve creates $25 billion program to backstop banks, promises to protect depositors. March 13th, President Biden promises to hold those responsible for the banking crisis fully accountable. Really? Well, who was fully accountable? Because it sounds to me like it would have been better to just be in something like Bitcoin, which actually increased in like 40% value over this whole debacle. And yeah, we did have USDC depegging, but the only reason that it was depegging is because there was a bank run on the coin and it couldn't be redeemed, not because there was anything wrong with crypto, not because there was anything wrong with USDC, but because legally they had to have it backed one-to-one with all of the money in this bank, and SVB wasn't available, right? They were being shut down. They couldn't do these transactions, right? So just think about it, guys. They like to say, oh, we came, to the whatever here. But so let's talk about this guy, Michael Barr. I'm trying to keep this moving. I don't want to I could talk about this all day, but I'm trying to get to the point here. So this is crazy. So this guy, Michael Barr, is a lawyer who has spent more. Now, let's actually just super quick go back to who this guy is. He is the vice chair for supervision, right, of the Federal Reserve, essentially. So now that we have that out of the way, let's go back over here. So he's a lawyer who spent most of his career jumping between academia and the U.S. government. He was one of the architects of the Dodd-Frank Act, a law that passed after the 2008 financial crisis. The Dodd-Frank Act legalized bank bail-ins in the United States and paved the way for similar legislation worldwide. Listen to this. The Dodd-Frank Act also created the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, the CFPB. Guess Elizabeth Warren proposed it. Allegedly, she's, obviously known as one of the most anti-crypto politicians in the US. So we have the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau speculating to be behind the original Operation Choke Point, right? The measure secretly cut off specific industries from the banking sector. Interestingly, the CFPB was proposed by an anti-crypto politician and was allegedly behind an operation to unbank particular sectors in the past. Now, despite being funded by the Fed and accounting for as much as 12% of the Fed's total annual budget, the CFPB is not overseen by the Fed officials or any US politicians. They're basically allowed to just sort of be this rogue entity. Surprisingly, Michael Barr also included something for himself in this Dodd-Frank Act too. You know what it was? It was a new position, a newly created position at the Fed. Can you guess what position it was? That's right, guys. That's right, guys. It is the vice chair for supervision. He created a pretty much position for himself, essentially. So let's continue. So he made a speech regarding everything that was happening, and the timing was impeccable. Barr made his speech literally the day before the banking crisis really began to unfold. Very convenient, right? It's been suggested that he and his anti-crypto allies will use the situation to justify cutting down the crypto industry. Keeping stablecoins out of the banking system appears to be another key point. This is because crypto, and especially stablecoins, are a direct competitor to FedNow. And remember we said how convenient that all of a sudden they're just going to roll this out at the same time. FedNow is the Federal Reserve's forthcoming interbank payments platform. It's basically one step closer to the creation of a central bank digital currency. They also go on in this article to discuss the fact that American crypto users have been on the rise. And just to conclude this again, Barr concluded that crypto ultimately poses a threat to the banking sector. Yeah, for them, not for us, right? Naturally, he cited the collapse of Silvergate, SVB, and Signature Bank as evidence of this threat. But again, going back, crypto had nothing to do with this. This was not crypto causing the collapse of a bank. This was a bank directly affecting the peg of a stablecoin due to a bank run that could not be fulfilled on their part, even though Circle did everything they were supposed to do. So just got to point that out, guys. And I do want to end on this. We've talked about Balaji's $1 million Bitcoin bet. That was yesterday. So are we really due for the ultimate hated Bitcoin rally, as Arthur Hayes puts it? Well, in a recent blog post, he says that the Federal Reserve's new bank term funding program will ultimately trigger a hated Bitcoin rally. Hayes says that the BTFD essentially equates to infinite money printing, which will likely boost risk assets like Bitcoin and crypto. However, he does say that he's not interested in stocks, which is weird. So he says the ensuing Bitcoin rally will be one of the most hated ever. How can Bitcoin and the crypto markets in general rally sharply after the bad things that happened in 2022? Didn't people learn Bitcoin and those associated with it are scumbags? Aren't people afraid of the narrative that Bitcoin caused the failure of large banks and almost consumed the US banking system? He's clearly being sarcastic here. For me and my portfolio, he says, I am largely done trading stocks. What's the point? I generally buy and hold and don't make around, really too many positions that often. I don't, he doesn't get in and out of them. He says, if I believe what I wrote, then I am signing myself up for underperformance. If there is a short-term trading opportunity where I think I can earn some quick fiat ducats and then take my profit and buy more Bitcoin, I will do it. Otherwise, I am liquidating most of my stock portfolio and I am moving it into crypto. So as we can see right here, I do want to go back to the charts and just stress the fact that, and I just want to also really quick, just point this right here, right? This upward sloping trend. You guys see this right here? So, we're very far off this trend right here. So I just want to point out, it would not be good to have an instant reversal and come all the way down here. I don't think that would be good for Bitcoin. But, even if you saw something like Bitcoin came sideways like this, we came up, we retested, or we came up and hit that $31,000 level, and then we slowly came down here, consolidated, and then came down, and we could come all the way back down after, literally after going to 32,000, and then Bitcoin would come all the way to 22. We would still be on an upward sloping trend. We would still be putting in higher highs. We would still be putting in higher lows. And, we might dip below the triple threat, but the fact that we closed below it today, I think shows massive massive resilience. And there's no way, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. This candle is there. We've done it. It's staying there for the rest of history. So yeah, that's it for me, guys. So I told you today's video was going to be a little bit longer than usual, but we had so much content to go over. Again, guys, thank you so much for the 250,000 subscribers. You guys are awesome. You guys motivate me to make more videos, make more content, keep putting out as much as I can. And yeah, that's basically it for me today, guys. So thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos in the first place. If you are enjoying this content, slap a like, share this video with someone. I thought it was pretty informational. And if you want to learn how to trade profitably and responsibly, I have multiple tutorials, multiple resources below. And of course, I do suggest getting your coins on a ledger. Don't trust these centralized exchanges with more than you can afford to lose. All that information below. Check the tutorial popping up right here, right now. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.